If you watch cricket in the 80s, then you'd remember the original Steve Smith.
And that's a fine shot from Steve Smith to bring up his 100. Beautifully timed and placed away through the gap. And that's his second international limited over century. Got one against New Zealand in the second final last year at the MCG, and now one here at his home ground.
Steve Smith was a hard-hitting batsman who played 3 tests and 28 one-days for Australia between 1983 and 1985.
Smith in fine touch.
Before joining the South African Rebel Tour.
Good shot from Steve Smith. Daniel just a fraction short, and Steve Smith latched onto it very quickly.
Smith made his debut for New South Wales in the season of 1981-82. It was the following year where he made his mark, most notably with a high score of 263, including a century in a session. New South Wales went on to win the Shield that year, with Smith scoring over 700 runs at an average of 56. His good form was rewarded with his one-day debut against New Zealand, and in his third game he scored a fine 117.
It's a very good looking stroke, nicely timed.
He was picked for the Tour of Sri Lanka but failed in the 2 one-days.
There's an appeal there. It's well caught by the keeper Silver, and Steve Smith is on his way.
But he had a great World Series Cup later that year against the West Indies in Pakistan, where he scored a brilliant 106 at the SCG.
He likes to sweep, and that's the second time that he's swept. Very fine.
Good shot. Beautiful stroke from Smith.
And that's a fine shot from Steve Smith to bring up his 100. Beautifully timed and placed away through the gap. And that's his second international limited over century. Got one against New Zealand in the second final last year at the MCG, and now one here at his home ground.
He finished the tournament with 285 runs at an average of 40, including a century and 2 half-centuries.
And a half-century to Smith.
He was selected to go to the West Indies in 1984, but suffered a bad shoulder injury in the World Series Cup.
Steve Smith has strained something. He's not looking in very good shape at all to me. So he might well have torn a muscle. And landed, looked as though on the point of the elbow. Almost certain to be a dislocation, and the really grave part of that is that the Australian team goes to the West Indies on Wednesday. What a cruel blow.
But he made it to the Caribbean, where he scored a century in each innings against Guyana, despite being dropped multiple times in each innings, and a century against the Windward Islands. His form continued into the one-day matches against the West Indies, scoring 60, but his test form was a different story, amassing just 41 runs in the only 3 tests of his career.
And an edge there, and well taken by Jeffrey Dujon. Good piece of bowling from Wayne Daniel.
Smith was also a brilliant fieldsman, with Sunil Gavaskar heaping praise on him when he toured India back in 1984.
And the call has been answered brilliantly. Henry Lawson absolutely delighted. And Steve Smith has picked up a terrific catch at point to get rid of Roy Dias.
Classic catch. Steve Smith put back into the side because he's a good field. He had to come forward, inches above the ground, caught it as clean as a whistle.
He was on this tour. He was approached to play in the South African Rebel Tour matches, and when he missed selection for England in 1985, the die was cast. It was claimed that Smith was one of the players that Kerry Packer wanted to keep in the Australian system, but Smith was committed to the tour. It proved to be a fruitful time, scoring a century in the unofficial test and 2 half-centuries in the one-days. During the second tour in 86-7, he scored 2 centuries in the unofficial tests, scoring over 1,100 runs at an average of 53 during those 2 years. Despite resuming his first-class career in 1987 for New South Wales, he wasn't able to reach the heights he had in previous years, finishing his career in South Africa playing for Transvaal. Smith became a New South Wales selector and owned an indoor cricket centre where he proved he was a skillful player.
Smith, thank you very much. Exceptional throw back at around 150 kilometres an hour. I reckon that there was no way known that was under 150. And watch this.
The OG Steve Smith paving the way for all Steve Smiths to play for Australia.
And that's a fine shot from Steve Smith to bring up his 100. Beautifully timed and placed away through the gap.
And Steve Smith moves to a standing ovation from the big crowd here at the Sydney Cricket Ground.
But a magnificent innings from Steve Smith. Not only has he played beautifully, he's run magnificently between the wickets. And as far as I can see it, he's just what the doctor ordered in terms of opening the batting for Australia in these one-day games.